Hi, welcome back to another episode of Victoria 2, Heart of Darkness. We last left off, we were reinforcing our armies near China so that they would be ready to fight the Chinese when that inevitably happens again, and eyeing Southeast Asia as we have been for the last 30 years to look to expand a little bit more. In addition to that, we're working on keeping Egypt in our sphere and maybe getting Hyderabad into our sphere at some point. Before I get started, I'm going to see if I can't get an alliance with any of these. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. Maybe Spain? I'm going to increase relations with Spain since I'm only a little bit off from being able to ally with them. I will, of course, eventually fight them and try and take the Philippines, but for the moment, since they're still in ninth anyways, I will keep them securely in my sphere. If they pop up to 8th before they get any real allies, I might go ahead and fight them. Looking at our newspaper, Portugal is afraid of the UK along with literally everybody else. The UK is pretty scary right now. And there seems to be some competition among the dinosaur discoverers. Stegosaurus was found. An interesting little bit of information. There was a longer period of time between Stegosaurus and Tyrannosaurus Rex living than there has been since the T-Rex went extinct and humans showed up. So, Land Before Time lied to us. Alright, let's get started. Of course, someone has to go bankrupt. This time it's Orange, which is in southern Africa, one of the Boer colonies. I'm going to cut subsidies, let everything sort of shake itself out. And while I'm in here, I'm going to see if any of these need upgrading. It looks like they're okay for the moment. There we go, starting to hit the green again. At least getting close. For the meantime, I'm going to drop spending on naval and land military units, just so I can build up a little bit of cash. I certainly need to, by the looks of it, I need to drop taxes on the poor because they're over that 33%, but militancy is also doing okay right now. So we'll just keep an eye on it, and we'll look to drop those taxes soon if possible. Some more guards have finished, so I'm going to move those over. One army at a time. And it looks like I forgot to increase the numbers of these here, but I'm probably going to use Korean or possibly even possibly Chinese troops to do that when I eventually get around to increasing the size of that army. It looks like, looking at this event, someone murdered someone else in a big Jack the Ripper-esque type of situation. I'm going to blame the rich because there are far fewer rich than there are poor, so militancy in the rich will not have as big of an effect as militancy in the poor. And I'm going to keep on going. Combining this army, we should have, I'm going to move over this small army, since I only put one into the, or I only left space for one more unit at the time, one more brigade I should say, here in eastern China. And then there we go, our last couple are done. Transdanubia, I assume that is, yeah, that's Austria. It looks like, I think that is Serbia that's trying to, no, Hungary. Hungary's trying to be free from Austria. And the UK has backed Hungary. The UK is just determined to weaken all of their continental allies. Or not allies, continental enemies, I guess, great powers. Austria is certainly not doing so well, and losing another huge chunk of land will be very bad for them. Pretty much guarantee that Prussia will be the supreme power in Germany, not that they aren't already, looking at how they've taken over Moravia and Bohemia, which is pretty much the main gem of Austria's crown, Bohemia and Austria itself, and then Hungary. Between the three of those, Austria is not in a good place. There we go, a nice invention for extra 30% morale. Will help if our armies survive long enough to get into more than one battle with the Chinese, which the Chinese are massing troops, but we should still be able to wipe them out once we go back to war. I expect them to declare war on me pretty much as soon as the truce is up, since they think they can take me, and they might be right. But once this technology finishes, I'm going to go for machine guns, which lowers width and will turn around and have a huge amount of defense. Should put us in a good place. We're already quite a bit ahead of them in military tactics. Knock on wood, we should be okay. Looking here in the new land, there's just a few, 6 brigades that can be raised there, but every brigade counts. Let's build up some here. So 1 engineer, 2 infantry, and eventually 4 artillery. So 1. I'm going to use some Chinese here too. 1, 2, 3. So there's all the non-guard units. I will move those over so that this unit will put him at 54,000. And then we'll build 2 more guards from the home islands, which will kick us up to 60,000 and should be enough. Colonial incident. Ooh, as much as I'd like that place in the sun, CB, it's really not worthwhile because I'm not going to go to war, and the additional jingoism will probably turn around and allow me to add additional war goals quicker to wars with other countries, and so I'm just going to accept that for now. Oh, looks like our truce is up pretty soon with Siam, and with China, it only has it on the main state for China, is up near the end of 72, so we still have a little bit of time. Might wait and make sure that they aren't going to declare war on us before I try and take Siam, though. Looking at the newspaper, crisis set in motion, Spain's afraid of the UK, everyone's afraid of the UK. Global cooling, it's a shame that. Artillery moving up and down. And we just got tensions dissipate, so in Laos, the militancy has dropped, which is nice. Looking at these, we are starting to get a few Japanese in Shandong, which means eventually we will be able to turn it into a state, which will be great for industrialization. It doesn't look like we're getting enough in any of these others. Just going to click through them. No Japanese in any of these by the looks of it. But it'll happen sooner or later. It's just a little ways off until we get some more of these technologies. We might not get a lot of immigration there. Keeping an eye on the crisis. It looks like Austria might get enough backing that they won't give up Hungary, because it looks like France and Russia anyways might join them, but we'll see. It'll be interesting. Right now Prussia's on the side of the UK, no surprise there since they want Austria to be as weak as they possibly can. I'm going to shift the rally point to here where the army is, just let them group together already, no reason not to. And waiting for all these to build. Gonna raise maintenance a little bit. It'll help our industries that we may or may not be losing money on. This is a very useful invention that just showed up. Lowers the effect of forts and increases the recon for hussars. So engineers siege lowers the effect of fort. Recon speeds up just overall occupation rate, as well as lowering the I believe it lowers the penalty to attack that you get, or the bonus to defense they get from being dug in. Speaking of forts, I am going to build some forts right here on the edge. Right here with, just to help us defend once China tries to push in. Even going to put one back here in the next province back. Looks like we're starting to, or we've run up against that maximum in Kansai, so going to expand the steel factory again. And going to toss some money in here to finish off all of these. There we go. See, capitalists are going to expand things now instead of just building new. And our national bank has been completely run dry from it, but that's certainly okay with me. When I build up some more money, I want to upgrade a few more of these naval ports. We're still running pretty low on supply, even with the level 2 naval ports in some of these. I'll at least upgrade them in the home islands. And I'm going to drop maintenance again on land a little bit. Build up some money while we're at peace. Austria did get enough backing to have the UK back down, so that is a loss in prestige to the UK, an increase for France. So France has actually surpassed the UK, at least for the moment. An increase, or a loss for Prussia, an increase for Russia and Austria, assuming that they joined. So that kind of shuffles this all around quite a bit, and we are within striking distance of being number 4 and catching the US. Right now we have more industry than them and quite a bit more military. Our prestige isn't great, but another big war with China will shift that very quickly. And let's see. The artillery is done, so I am going to move them over. And surprisingly enough, it looks like we still have the samurai unit sprite. I was thinking that at breech-loaded rifles is when that switches over. Upper house rearranged, nothing really noteworthy. Let me see. No, it's bolt action and then modern divisionals. So we stay the same way until bolt action rifles. Never mind then. My mistake. Anyways, consolidating these armies. And our cash is starting to run just a little low, upkeeping all of these, so it may be a while before we upgrade any more. In the meantime, I'm going to raise. The rich are doing okay. I'm going to just try and have everybody at the same point. That's not quite working. So we're going to drop rich and put it back where it was, 90, 80, and 70. And bam! Oh, nope, I thought that was the invention. Well, good invention. There we go. Research, extra 100%. So now we are just raking in the research. Organization, artillery, or machine guns? Machine guns, gotta go with that for now. Won't be done for over another year, but it will be done pretty shortly into the war if China declares war on us immediately. So we'll keep an eye on that. And the lower combat width will put us in a good position, plus the extra defense will put us in a great position. We might just be able to beat them without blitzkrieging like we did last time. Here's hoping anyways. All those armies are upgraded to 60,000. The ones in Malaysia are still, of course, only 33,000, but they don't have nearly as many big-time enemies to deal with. China will probably send a few troops over Burma or through Dainam, but at the end of the day, they are not the big threat. The big threat will be up here in the north, so that will be where I'm keeping the biggest eye out. I'm looking at the newspaper. Sardinia Piedmont's afraid of Parma. That's kind of funny. New political party. More dinosaur stuff. A lot of dinosaur stuff. Apparently the newspaper is quite enthralled with them. And we just got an invention that increases factory output efficiency, which should increase the income and decrease the amount of... Yep, that number is going down at least a little bit. Should, on average anyways, drop. Old Man in the Sea, gonna just take the militancy drop. Alright. It's looking like Egypt's going to need a boost to the priority so that we can keep them in our sphere. And Hyderabad we're never going to actually get, so I'm just going to stop trying on that one. There really isn't any reason. But keeping an eye on Spain. Yep, I can remove it from my influence. As a commenter said, it lowers prestige and raises infamy, but it's doable, and 10 months worth of infamy is not a big deal. They are still unwilling to ally with us at the moment, so going to increase relations further. sooner or later, I hope that they will be willing to ally with us, just because their navy will be nice to have, and plus any men they can throw at China are Japanese that won't have to die doing it. And that breakpoint is September, so we are very quickly approaching. And we're also catching up with the US. We might pass them before his war even begins, and definitely if we get a war. The colonial tensions have dissipated, so the people in Chiang Mai are less unhappy with us. I'm going to wait and let the Ottomans build up a lot, get close to 100, and then ban them from Europe. Or from Egypt, not Europe. But I am going to ban the UK from Spain as soon as possible. Finally a prestige invention that doesn't just give one, so we're catching up. Colonial negotiations means that we will be able to colonize very soon. Pretty much as soon as we get machine guns, we should have the ability. Or no, this is the one we'll need. We need to get state and government next, so that we will be able to colonize. Hopefully the extra year that we'll be behind won't end up making us lose too many of these other potential colonies. Doesn't look like anybody else is trying to colonize the Pacific yet. Keyword being yet. But we'll just make sure that nothing happens. Worst case scenario, we'll go to war and take them once we're near the top. Additional plurality still translates to more research points, since we're still not at 100% plurality. In fact, we're only at 66%. And so, more research. It's always a good thing, of course. And I'm going to raise all of these up one more so that I'm going to put them all at 90% so that I will be ready if China tries to go to war with me. Ready to defend with a fully maintained army. And the truce is ended, so keeping an eye, looking at what we can do as far as justifying acquiring sub-state region or demanding concession. This is the same thing, with the same amount of infamy. I'm going to go ahead and start to justify the acquire sub-state region CB. Actually, demand concession will drop down faster, and I can add either of them later for the same amount of infamy. So I'm going to start with demand concession. If it gets found very quickly, it won't matter, but each day that I spend trying to generate that CB for demand concession drops the amount of infamy that I gain if I'm caught by more than the demand substate one. So it's the efficient thing to do. Looking at the newspaper, crisis averted, Brazil's expanding, screwing with people in South America. We'll take a look over here. Oh my, Brazil has expanded. They've taken a state here from Argentina, and no, never mind. I was thinking that was a part of Bolivia, but it looks like this is just Brazilian. So maybe they haven't expanded. They're just very, very large already, other than taking the one state from Argentina, which, good for them. It doesn't look like there's a lot of people there, but U.S. isn't doing much. They still haven't taken the decision to add the U.S. as a U.S. cores to Cuba, which is actually fairly surprising. I don't know, maybe the AI never takes that decision, but Spain would be pretty easy to beat, I would think. They're only allied with the Netherlands and two Sicilies right now, so sooner or later I will be able to take all of the Philippines. Or at least free them, add them as a sphereling or as a puppet or something like that. But in the meantime, the main focus is, of course, China. Oof. We either have to grab one of these one of these two different reforms or no reforms. I'll take pensions. Minimum wage can really cut into the profits of the... Yeah. Minimum wage can really cut into profits. Oof, social spending is going to cost a lot. I'm dropping that down to 50%, which means that the effect is lowered because each of these reforms does have an effect. In this case, it looks like just immigrant attraction and the unemployed, or like everyone, all pops gain a little bit. Looking at movements, I'm going to suppress the Korean Liberation Movement, but the others I'm okay with. Not super happy with having chosen pensions. I probably should have just should have just taken nothing. So I'm going to just drop social spending to 0. I should have taken the militancy and consciousness, but hindsight being 2020 and all of that. I'm going to drop subsidies for a little bit to let things kind of shake out. Also going to expand that factory since we're running out of space. And then, there we go. And hopefully that should all shake out alright. Our demand concession CB was found. 1.7 infamy, not bad at all. Certainly not terrible. And we have about 24 days left. I'm going to keep an... that speeds it up. I'm going to keep an eye on them to make sure that we don't end up losing, or that make sure that... I'm going to keep an eye once it drops to see how long it'll take before the CB disappears. We get 1 year. So I could add another one, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to justify another CB, and that way, instead of just adding it directly, it will decrease the number of, or the amount of infamy that we gain. So even if it's found immediately, it's still less. Oh, the communists have shown up. That's not great. See, 4.6 infamy, it's still less than the 5 for just adding it. And it should be done, even without any events, it should be done before the other one disappears, at which point we can declare war, demand a concession, and then turn around and add this other CB before the war, before it runs out too, because we have a year. Alright, machine guns have finished. So next, I'm going to do state and government, so that I will be able to start colonizing once I get mission to civilize. And that should allow us to start taking over all of these nice little colonies in the Pacific. Since we're not going to war quite yet, going to pull back this army. No reason to take all that attrition hit. And this will be a very short time to research because we have so many research points. State and government will take only about 10 months, it looks like. Japanese Bonin Island. I'm going to close that. If it's not making money, it's not making money. I'm going to expand this factory, looking at where we have unemployment. I'm going to expand some of these ones that are making money, and then resubsidize everything. And expand Kansai because it seems to be making tons and tons of money all the time. Alright, Hungary's trying to break away again. Looking at the newspaper, nothing all that interesting. Prussia has backed Hungary against Austria. And Austria has France to back them. This may end up as a war if some of these other countries, if the UK and Prussia and the Ottomans back, or if the Ottomans and the UK back Prussia, neither side might back down. We'll keep an eye on it. I don't think the UK and Prussia are willing to go to war with 3 great powers, but with the Ottomans on their side, they might. Looks like we can add Dynam to our sphere. I'm not really sure. If If I do that, then I will be able to get them to join us in the war against China, probably. But on the other hand, that just means they'll get overrun by the Chinese. So, probably not worth it. I'll just keep everybody else off of them. After all, I do want to invade them here sooner or later. And it doesn't look like they have that much of output for things that we don't. Grain, 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 tobacco, cotton, but not a lot of cotton. So their goods aren't super useful. I might change my mind, but for the moment, going to leave them be. Election cycles starting. Looking at the newspaper, communists get the front page post. There we go. Extra defense for machine gun armament. Extremely useful. And that CB will expire the 21st of February. This justification should be done about the start of January. I'm going to choose interventionalism, since that's what we want to keep as our choice for government here. Looking at the paper again. Well, first we have to deal with this. Don't like planned economy, so going to choose the lowest one there. And letter to the editor about reckless full-speed driving on ferry pilots. More information about dinosaurs, crisis set in motion. You know, more of the same type of stuff. State and government will be done before the end of this year. Do not really like atheism. We're looking for pluralism, so we're going to choose the lowest on that option. There we go. State and government finished. I'm going to go ahead and grab associationism, since it should research very quickly, and the extra regimental experience makes our regiments fight better, plus reinforcement speed will be good if we get into a really bloody war. And it takes about 6 months, a little less than 6 months, I guess, to research. So that's more useful for those 6 months than anything else, I imagine. And one last thing before the end of the year, since we now... Oh, well, never mind. We are not able to... I was going to say we can start colonizing, but we need the new... We would need we need that invention to show up, which should be very quick anyways. It's 20%, so average mean time to happen is 5 months at this point. But nonetheless, one more thing is looking at which of these places need more capitalists, since we just got a new national focus. I'm going to move from Busan. And just at this point, since they all already have... Well, here, I'm going to show empty states. Bonin Islands don't really need anything, but Malaya could use some capitalists, so I'm going to move the national focus there from Pyongyang. Maybe they'll actually start building something there. Here's hoping. Looking at the population, there's 168,000, or almost 169,000 people there, so it's worth building a little bit of industry. And I'm going to stop here for today. January 1st, 1874. Communists have finally shown up, and we are getting ready to go to war early this year against China. So check back soon for more Victoria 2, Heart of Darkness.